Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're stupid, and sometimes they're misleading, but they all got people talking. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down one of our highest voted topics from our suggestions page, the top 10 video game controversies.
These games, in many cases, need a warning, simply so people know that they can be addictive and psychologically damaging.
In order to get on this list, a controversial story needs to have been covered by more than one news source, not just a one-off by a single channel on a slow news day.
What's wrong with being adopted? Lack of parents.
For the record, you are adopted and that's terrible.
Number 10, Mass Effect sex scenes. In 2008, just after Mass Effect's release, conservative blogger Kevin McCullough claimed that players in Mass Effect could, quote, engage in the most realistic sex acts ever conceived. Meanwhile, over on Fox News, author Cooper Lawrence had this to say.
They don't show women as being valued for anything other than their sexuality, and it's a man in this game deciding how many women he wants to be with.
Only problem is, neither of those statements are true. There are sex scenes in the game, but they only last 1 minute and would bore your grandmother.
Bunk here tonight, Caden. With me.
Number 9, Pokemon controversy magnet. When Pokemon was at the height of its popularity, the series was accused of pretty much everything from being satanic.
So Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells,
to encouraging gambling, to even promoting blackface racial stereotyping with the Jinx Pokemon, leading to a purple face change. In more recent years, PETA has accused the franchise of encouraging animal abuse, even going so far as to make a shocking Flash parody game. Twice.
Pokemon World is a world of the demonic.
Number 8, Night Trap. Now, here's a game that would have been all but forgotten had it not been for the controversy. A full-motion video game on the ill-fated Sega CD. This game made it all the way to the US Congress, where it was stated that
it's an effort to trap and kill women.
Once again, just like Mass Effect, that claim was totally bogus, but Night Trap would still go down as one of the seminal examples of controversial video game violence.
All right, you were perfect. Nobody's ever done that.
Number 7, Mortal Kombat. Another game that ended up before the US Congress, this one over its graphic fatalities involving decapitation and heart ripping. Along with Night Trap, it helped forge the non-profit ESRB. Unlike Night Trap, however, Mortal Kombat did really feature the violence that so horrified congressmen and parents alike.
It's just like any other form of entertainment. There's just you go there to have fun, you go there to play the game.
The violence was censored on the SNES version and hidden but unlockable on the Sega Genesis. When word got out about the blood code, the Genesis version outsold the SNES iteration.
Liu Kang wins. Fatality.
Number 6, banned in Australia. In Australia, on the other hand, game classification is maintained and funded by the government. But, thanks to this guy, games that were always intended for an 18+ audience, like Left 4 Dead 2, Mortal Kombat, and The Witcher 2, are refused classification and can't be sold. Even though Australia now has an R18+ rating, it didn't seem to do much good, as Saints Row 4 and State of Decay were both denied under the new system. So, now what?
Okay, so Australia really doesn't like things like anal probes, and that's good to know. Who knew?
Number 5, Grand Theft controversy. GTA is another series prone to controversy, though unlike Pokemon, the intention is more deliberate. Notable instances that got people talking include the torture scene from GTA 5, but the violent rampages that players can go on at will have been garnering negative attention since the series debuted way back in 1997. But the most infamous firestorm came from GTA San Andreas, when an unfinished sex minigame was uncovered in the game's code. Dubbed the Hot Coffee mod, this resulted in the game being pulled from retail distribution.
My CJ.
Number 4, 6 Days in Fallujah. In 2009, Minnesota-based Atomic Games was set to develop a realistic military game with funding from Konami, based on the real-life Battle of Fallujah, in which 200 combatants and over 600 civilians lost their lives, and thousands more were left wounded and homeless. The game was supposed to retell the battle through testimonies of US Marines that were working with Atomic. However, when the word of the project got out, the developers faced a bombardment of hatred from anti-war activists and negative press.
I have this image of a bunch of guys sitting around laughing because they got killed or they didn't get killed, or let's start over because we can. My son didn't have that choice.
And as a result, Konami bailed on the project, leaving the game unfinished.
I think I read somewhere in the notes that you've lost your funding to actually put this game out to the public. Is that true?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Obviously, you knew, though, that you might get some blowback on it because some people lost their children in that battle. Peter Tamte, Captain.
Remember, no Russian.
Number 3, no Russian, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. After the runaway success of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, its sequel became the most hyped game of 2009. And within days of the game being released, it landed in the headlines when word got out that one mission had players massacring a Russian airport as an undercover agent embedded in a terrorist cell. Though the mission is skippable and is included in the plot as the event that spurs World War III, it is still understandably horrific, and the press had a field day.
John, a lot of people have a problem, though, where you get to essentially be a terrorist and kill people, and it's very realistic.
Number 2, Manhunt 2. A game that was considered so violent that it was banned in a handful of countries. Plus, the game had to be censored in order to be released on the Wii and PS2. Despite the censored version getting an M rating, various US senators, including Hillary Clinton, called for the rating system to be raised to adults only.
So the Wii has motion sensing controls, and therefore to stab, you're going to mimic a stabbing motion. To swing a sledgehammer or a shovel, you would do the same.
The uncensored version was released digitally for the PC 2 years later, but is now no longer available. It is quite literally a game about murder for entertainment, after all. Before we get to our top pick, let's briefly mention other controversial moments, like the time the PlayStation Network was compromised, resulting in stolen credit card information.
This isn't the first time that I've come to the stage at an E3 press conference with an elephant in the room.
Or how about Carmageddon, which let you run over pedestrians for points? Or what about when Doom was considered by religious organizations to be satanic? Oh, and let's not forget one of the first games to ever be considered offensive, Custer's Revenge. Number 1, allegations to mass shootings. Taking the top spot is one subject that just won't go away. A massacre in which dozens of innocent people lose their lives is tragic, but the ensuing blame game that follows, usually but not exclusively fueled by conservative news media, or by a certain advocate in Florida who shall not be named, is reckless to say the least.
But if this indeed is a strong link, right, to mass killings, then why aren't we looking at frequency of purchases per person, and also how often they're playing and how many times, maybe they time out.
Never mind the fact that it ignores multiple scientific studies that heavily dispute the claim. It seems that virtual guns are always to blame when people use real ones. Who'd have thought?
I know it from what other school shooters have done. I've represented the parents in Paducah.
Right, but you are projecting other cases onto this case. You're projecting what he was doing 4 or 5 years ago onto what he was doing this weekend.
Agree with our list? Which games or scaremongering news stories pissed you off the most? For more entertaining top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
The alleged shooter in Washington, D.C. had some mental illness issues. I mean, we have to look at everything. You cannot just blame it on one video game or 2 video games. There's a lot at stake here, and there's a lot going on here. Mental illness is a big problem.